So there are probably thousands of videos on YouTube on how to take fig cuttings, so I figured I'd make one too. I'm going to come at this from practical perspective, things that I've learned and things that I think will benefit you. Thank you for being here. I wanted to start by quoting one of my mentors, and he told me years ago when I started by buying some stock from his nursery that if you want to feel like a magician, if you want to feel like a green thumb, start with figs. Hopefully, if you've researched this at all, no one's told you anything differently, but figs are extremely easy to get to propagate, which makes them really fun, really rewarding, and helps you have that stick-to-itiveness that you might need to keep on learning in this field. So we're here in front of one of our micro fig orchards right now. We have another 10 or so in our main orchard, and then we have another 10 or so in pots. So I'm going to start by introducing you to the tools that I'm going to be using, the techniques that we're going to be going over, and then we'll get into taking some cuttings. So let's do that. All right, here we are. Tools I'm using. One pair of nice pruners. These are Felcos. I accidentally stole these from one of my clients. I will clean them up and return them. It's the off season and I didn't realize I had them in my truck, but Felco does not sponsor us. I wish they did. These are pricey, but they're amazing pairs of pruners. You can replace every single component. It's easy to break down and clean, unlike something that you buy once and you have to buy it again later because you can't replace any of the parts and it's a piece of crap. These are awesome. Second thing, rubber bands. Simple as, I've got about 12 to 15 varieties. I need to bind them all together with their lichen counterparts and make sure that we keep them organized. Thirdly, I'm going to attach a tree tag to each one of them. This is going to become important also for organization. We want to keep everything labeled. And on that note, do not use permanent markers. It will wash off as soon as it gets hit by UV. It's over for you. And this is another buy once, cry once thing. This is worn, but this would say tag pen if you could still read it, if it was still legible. These tag pens are made for marking the earmarks on cattle and different livestock. These things the ink that's in them is made to withstand the UV and all the elements. Priceless, this thing right here. I've lost a lot of battles to organization and to keeping things relatively marked well, but the tag pen is worth its weight in gold. So that's the introduction to what we're using. You could use masking tape and a permanent marker if you wanted, as long as you kept in mind that if you don't eventually plan for it to wear off in the sun or the water, if you're dealing with multiple varieties, you're going to be lost and you're going to have to try to ID them by the way the fruit looks or the way it tastes. So there's that. Moving on. So hopefully you can make it out pretty clearly behind me. Each one of these compost piles or mulch piles is a tree. We've got two of each cultivar next to each other in line over here, and what we are intending to do with this is we've done 10-foot spacing, which is much tighter than I would normally space anything, but the idea with the fig hedge is we're cutting everything off chest level and we're only going to allow the fruit to rise slightly above our head. We will eventually sink 4x4s within the ground and train these much like you would train grapes. We don't want to sacrifice them to the birds or the elements. We have posted video on planting this fig hedge, so I'm not going to get too deep into the intention. If you want to, check that out. I'll leave a link somewhere over here or at the end of the video. We'll figure it out later. But yeah, let's get into it, guys. Let's cut some figs. Hey Graham, what's up? Okay, so guys, first thing I really want to talk to you about is timing. So as far as timing is concerned, one of the things that we want to consider is the best time to do this over your growing year is when the plant is actually dormant. So as you can see here, I've kind of failed in that mission. The date of this recording is the 5th or 6th, something like that, of March, which is still winter, technically, for where we are here in Northwest Louisiana, but it's been so warm lately. I mean, it's snowing in other parts of the country. We're really fortunate, but my figs are budding out, so that's not good. You want to do this before any of your stuff buds out. But what you can also do is when you take these cuttings, you can just flick those buds off. And it's not the worst thing in the world for the plant. And you can leave one of them. I'm not gonna leave that leaf though. We're gonna just go ahead and trick this plant into thinking it's still dormant. So without getting too lost in the weeds, this is actually a technique that growers and orchardists use to promote flowering within certain types of trees like apple trees and pear trees. If you get too early of a frost and you've had a bout of warm weather like this and your trees go into flower and they're already foliated, and then you have another freeze come in late before Easter and knock all those blooms off. Instead of not having any apples or any fruit that year, what these grovers and what these orchardmen will do is they'll strip all of the leaves off all of the plants. And what that does is trick the plant into thinking it's back in dormancy, and then it'll refoliate and it'll bud back out. So that's essentially what we're gonna do anywhere that we missed an opportunity. Another concept before we get into talking about cuttings that I really want to discuss with you guys, which is vitally important, is the best thing that you can do for a tree when you plant it is chop it off at knee level. And that is a hard sell, especially to my clients where I'm planting fruit trees in their suburban environment or on their homestead when they want a specimen tree that already has the showing and staying power, because a lot of edible landscaping is also about our perception, how it makes us feel when we go outside into our yard. And no one wants to look at a little whip that's only knee high. But what you're doing when you're chopping that tree down at knee level is you're encouraging lateral branching patterns from a very low point in the ground. Instead of encouraging lateral branching power, once the tree's already 5 or 6 feet tall, then what you're doing is you're allowing yourself the opportunity, your future self the opportunity, to harvest that fruit at waist level, at chest level, and at eye level instead of with a catch basket. So what we're gonna do with all of these is we're gonna do some pretty intensive pruning. I'm gonna go somewhere between knee and belly button level because for the figs, I know a lot of these, a fig will have either a tree pattern or a bush pattern. And I'm gonna train all of these like I would a grape anyways, so it's not as important here, but vitally important with your fruit trees. So you're gonna notice we're gonna bring these down quite low. General rule of thumb is you always want at least 3 to 4 nodes on your cutting. Nodes are those little parts where the buds pop out. The space in between is called an internode. So for this one right here, I could train this lateral branch onto my grapevine this way. I could train this and this as well. These are too small to take cuttings, so what I'm doing with these 3 is I'm leaving them all instead of just leaving 2, and I will choose the genetics off of these 3 in the future that I want to actually be my main lead branch. So we're gonna come all the way down to remove that dead wood, and then we're gonna take this tree from right here actually. Chicago hardy fig. So from this, I have 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 cuttings. I'll probably turn it into 3 just to be safe because we have a pretty big woody part right here. So I'm gonna call it right there. One thing, when you take your cuttings, cut at an angle, cut at a 45-degree angle. What this does for your plant is it does not allow water to pool on top of it for spread of bacteria, decay, mold, stuff like that. Think of it as a pitched roof. You want water running off of it. All right, so I'm going to take this guy right here from that area, and I'm gonna turn this into 2 cuttings as well. Just from that one prune, I've already got 4 cuttings of my Chicago cold hardy fig. That's really cool. I'm excited about this, and this doesn't look great, like I said, but it is what it is. I don't know if you guys could see down here, but I'm also gonna take this cutting for myself as well because I've already got my lead branch down here, and I don't know if this is coming up from, I just don't want it coming up from there. Let's put it that way. Cut that at an angle, boom, 5/6. Simple as. All right, so we've done the show and tell for the most part. I've explained to you guys a lot more theory. About planting trees, about why I do things certain ways. If I think of anything of value to add to the conversation, I'll do so. What I like to do on the back of all of my tags is write an affirmation. You know what? Maybe that'll be a cool thing to put at the back of this coming up time lapse, is why I put these affirmations on this plant. And so I will tell you the story about a Japanese scientist named Dr. Emoto, and the reason that I put words of encouragement on each one of my trees is usually "let's do it" or "I love you." And hey, without sounding too cheesy, love you too, fam. Dr. Masaru Emoto did an experiment on rice. The objective was to find out what power our words, our thoughts, and our emotions held over this reality and over living things in this reality. In this experiment, there was a large vat of rice cooked, and there were 3 sterilized containers where they took rice from the same batch and placed them into individual containers. In the first container, there was a message written, "I love you." In the second container, a message was written, "I hate you." And in the third container, nothing was done. There was no message whatsoever. And every day for 30 days, Dr. Masaru Emoto projected those emotions onto those containers of rice, telling the rice labeled "I love you," things of that exact nature. "I love you, you can do it, way to go." Telling the rice in the container, "I hate you, you make me sick, I hate you." And then for the control, doing absolutely nothing. And the results weren't maybe as surprising as one would expect. The rice that was hit with positive affirmations and told "I love you" and encouraged only had slight bacterial growth. It was still white rice after 30 days. The container that was projected hate and negativity onto it molded, grew bacteria, turned black, and looked putrid in comparison to the container that was projected with love. And most surprisingly of all was the control absolutely was affected more negatively, even than the container that had hate projected upon it. This says a lot about how negative attention could even sometimes be better than no attention at all. Dr. Emoto also did a similar experiment with the water, where the intention was to see if the power of prayer and positive thinking could take polluted water and structurally change it into something that was greater than it was. And he would take a drop from this vat and drop them onto various slides, and then project the emotions of love, project the emotions of prayer, project the emotions of hate, project specific prayers and specific messages onto this water. And then he would freeze them and study the crystalline pattern and the sacred geometry found there within each one of those structures and each one of those projections of emotion and of words onto the actual water. What Dr. Emoto found out was that we have significant power over things within our reality just by the emotions and the words and the feelings that we project onto our reality. When you consider that the human body is comprised of over 70% water, as well as plants and animals, this has profound implications as to how we can affect physical reality and the changes that we can make just by being a bit more positive and a bit more loving in our words, in our thoughts, and in our actions. I hope you found this very interesting. We sure did. Thank you for being here. God bless you and yours. I hope your families and your gardens grow big and strong.